I didn't accuse Kamala Harris of inviting drug mules. I said that she enabled the Mexican drug cartels to operate freely in this country. And we know that they use children as drug mules. And it is a disgrace, and it has to stop.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Conservative Confucius here. We're going to be covering the debate highlights. Sorry I was gone yesterday. My computer didn't have the proper cord to hook up my new hard drive, internal hard drive. So I had to wait for that and then do it all today. And it took a minute. So let's get going. Don't forget to go down there, smash the like button, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and don't forget to share this video if you guys like it. Alrighty, and don't forget to go down there and check out my new Discord server, and also go check out my merch store. We got lots of great stuff on there, and let's check it out a little bit. So we got our Kamala Harris monster horror story one. We got all this. We got Trump 2024 election wars. We got Come and Take It, Time for Revolution with Revolutionary Trump. It comes in all these, by the way, almost all of them come in all like multiple different colors. So you want gray, white, green, army green, whatever it is. See, we got they were all felon shirt. We got in white, black, gray, and not all of them are the same exact colors. They come in what colors promote the design the best, what look best on. So yeah, you want a regular white one, you want a black one, got them all, dude. Yeah. So go check that out, guys. www.streamlabs.com/merch / Conservative Confucius /merch. It's on the always on all my stuff, so you can see it when I'm making videos and stuff. So let's move on. Alrighty, guys, let's get down to it and do it. We're going to be covering the highlights from the debate. We are going to mainly view some of the main things that JD Vance went over, but yeah, we're going to be going over more than a few of them. So let's get going.
We should have a family care model that makes choice possible. And I think this is a very important substantive difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris's approach. I mean, look, if you look at the federal programs that we have that support paid family leave right now, the Community Development Block Grant, and there's another block grant program that spends a lot of money from the federal government. These programs only go to one kind of child care model. Let's say you'd like your church maybe to help you out with child care. Maybe you live in a rural area or an urban area and you'd like to get together with families in your neighborhood to provide childcare in the way that makes the most sense. You don't get access to any of these federal monies. We want to promote choice in how we deliver family care and how we promote childcare because, look, it is unacceptable. Oh, yeah. And, of course, Tim and I have been on the campaign trail a lot the past 7 or 8 weeks. And one of the biggest complaints I hear from young families is people who feel like they don't have options, like they're choosing between going to work or taking care for their kids. That is an incredible burden to put on American families. We're the only country that does it. I think we could do a heck of a lot better.
Yeah.
We should have it.
Yeah. So, I completely agree. I think that the American family is struggling not just due to the inflation and the rise in prices, the housing crisis, all these different things. But migration, which he mentions, I think is probably the most important issue for most people due to the fact that it's causing most of this stuff. And they say, and another party says, I don't want to blame the immigrants for the rise in rising cost of housing. But the thing is, we have to blame the administration for the cause of this, but they're the ones who are doing it. And until this government takes this problem seriously, there's really nothing to do. And in another clip, we'll cover it. He says, then pass the bill. That's what Tim Walz said. Then pass the bill if you want to fix the issue. And it's like the bill you were talking about allowed for 1.8 million migrants a year extra on top of what we were already taking in per year to come into this country, plus anyone who claims refugee status. And as of now, the majority of people coming in are claiming refugee status. And now they've learned that. They have learned that all you have to do is claim refugee status and no one will check. Unlike previous administrations, like even Obama would make your refugee status be checked through a thorough process. It'd be vetted and, background check to high hell. And yet they don't do any of that anymore. It is crazy. And it's not plausible it's just not feasible anymore. It's just not feasible for the American people to have to deal with these issues just because our government wants to seem virtuous.
Well, look, what the president has said is that if the Democrats, in particular Kamala Harris and her leadership, if they really believe that climate change is serious, what they would be doing is more manufacturing and more energy production in the United States of America, and that's not.
Yeah, I mean, they shut down the XL pipeline while opening up the pipeline in Europe. Like they literally uh, helped Russia gain superiority over other countries and then blew it up later. And yet, Americans, the pipeline up in Canada that goes to the U.S. was completely shut down by the U.S. instead of continuing it and allowing Americans to get cheap gas to help us start being a distributor and exporter in natural gas and in petroleum, which we have the highest, like our country, the U.S. has the most petroleum and natural gas than any country in the world. Yet we do everything overseas in countries that have slave labor and tyrannical governments, and it's insane. We should be doing this here. And if people have houses and other things on the property, they should be compensated, not just for their property's cost, but they should be double compensated. So you have a house that's worth $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, you should be getting double that. If your house is $400,000, you should be getting $800,000. The reason why is not only so you can relocate wherever you want in case that the place you're moving is more expensive, but also so you can pay for moving, so you can pay for new cost of living where you are, so you can get new things that you need and leave behind what you don't. And instead, we're seeing a government that says, well, we just don't want to do it here because we want to seem like we're virtuous and we care about the environment, and we don't want to have to displace people, even though for generations people have been paid to move off their property and paid to go to a better property or newer property where then they can, so that America can thrive once, more. And if we don't start doing that again, we're going to see, a continued reliance on other countries and foreign, adversaries really for our well-being, really.
What they're doing. So clearly, Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe her own rhetoric on this. If she did, she would actually agree with Donald Trump's energy policies. Now, something Governor Walz said I think is important to touch upon, because when we talk about clean energy, I think that's a slogan that often the Democrats will use here. And I'm talking, of course, about the Democratic leadership. And
there's nothing clean about new age energy. Look at lithium and cobalt mines. They are literally the worst things in existence. Babies and slaves and literal babies strapped on mother's back. You have 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds working in the mud in the middle of the rain. Mine collapses happening all the time, killing dozens of people probably per month. And yet we think that getting our energy from those places is safer. We think having Tesla does a better job with manufacturing their solar panels. They last longer, they're made better. But others, mainly most solar panels, and most aren't bought from Tesla unless it's like you're at a home. But if it's like the government, they don't buy from Tesla anymore because of Elon. So you're getting all of these solar panels that last about 5 to 10 years, sometimes 15 at most, and they can't be recycled. You have to put them in a toxic plant or toxic waste dump where it just sits, corrupting everything around it. And all of this, everything we do with renewable energy is toxic. Whether it's the fact that wind energy kills like 2.6 billion, or is it million or billion, whatever it is, it's a shit ton of birds each year. And I think it's million, 2.6 million birds per year. And then we have solar, which is toxic once it's no longer viable, once the panels are no longer usable. Then we have water, which is great, but we don't use it enough. And even after all of these different types of energy, we still rely on coal and natural gas the most. And not only that, our electric cars charge off of either they charge off of generators that either run off of the city's coal or natural gas power, or they run off of diesel. Like if you go to the middle of nowhere and you're going through you're going to a charging station, almost always it's diesel powered. Diesel. So we're sitting here complaining about look at my clean energy truck, look at my clean energy semi. I don't have to use diesel anymore while you're charging it on a diesel charger. Are you kidding me? This is so stupid. Like they go half the distance, they have half the reliability, they weigh 3 to 4 times more sometimes, at least double when it comes to cars like sedans, and yet they're still using the things that we sit here and complain that that the original version was using. It's like no, you can't do this. It's not viable. Clean energy is not viable for long-term solution.
real issue is that if you're spending hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars of American taxpayer money.
Oh, and it's definitely not clean. Oh, clean energy ain't clean. There's nothing clean about it. It's bloody and toxic and all kinds of stuff.
On solar panels that are made in China, number one, you're going to make the economy dirtier. We should be making more of those solar panels here in the United States of America. Nope. Some of them are, Tim, but a lot of them are being made overseas in China, especially the components that go into those solar panels. So if you really want to make the environment cleaner, you've got to invest in more energy production. We haven't built a nuclear facility, I think, one in the past 40 years. Senator. Natural gas, we got to invest more in it. Kamala Harris has done the opposite.
Nuclear is the way to go. Nuclear is like a dirty word, but nuclear is literally the way to go. It is the best option for truly clean energy. It just needs to be responsibly dealt with. Like, you can't have a nuclear facility and be irresponsible. And maybe that's what they're afraid of, is like they're too irresponsible to deal with this. But we need nuclear facilities, and like nuclear energy is the cleanest type of energy you can come up with.
That's raised energy prices and also meant that we're doing
Senator,
worse by the climate.
Senator, your time is up.
Yeah, we are. Under Trump's presidency, we saw a better decline in CO2 levels in the world than we did during Biden's administration. And people say, oh, that's because of the wars going on. Okay, just in the U.S. alone, we saw a higher decline in CO2 levels than anywhere else. And people still blame the wars, but I say BS, because like, it's just, when it comes to the policies he was pushing, they actually helped our environment better than that. People forget that right now in the world, there's more green on the earth today than there was 100 years ago, than there was 50 years ago. Like, we're doing better than we've ever done for the environment. We're getting more, like, carbon dioxide is the breath of life. It's the thing that gives all things life. And without carbon dioxide, what we really need to be worrying about is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is the killer of life. We need to be worrying about that, not carbon dioxide. For example, like plants, plants, especially trees, and mangrove trees are the best. So like mangroves absorb 50 times as much CO2 than a regular trees. And I remember an Australian politician talking to a person who was supposedly a climate change expert, and they didn't know any of this. And he was talking about how Australia alone has enough trees alone, not mangroves, just trees. They have mangroves too, lots, but just trees, has enough trees to deal with 500 million tons of CO2 per year. And if you add mangroves on top of that, it's another 600 million, plus all the bushes and plants and all that stuff. You're looking at another 200 million. So they have more than they output by like 10 times. And America is the same way. We have enough plants to deal with the output by almost 10 times. And we need to stop preaching this lie that carbon dioxide is bad. It's actually good for the environment at certain levels. But carbon monoxide is what we should be worrying about.
Something that these guys do is they make a lot of claims about if Donald Trump becomes president, all of these terrible consequences are going to ensue. But in reality, Donald Trump was president. Inflation was low. Take-home pay was higher.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame Kamala Harris for letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country, which does drive up costs, Tim. 25.
Pass the bill. Pass the bill. Really? The bill that you're talking about would have cursed this country for decades to come. It was the worst bill. It offered not only more immigration, but there was stuff about Ukraine in there, like more money for Ukraine, along with more immigration. It's like, you guys, you make bills and then you shovel crap in there that just, you put the name as the border bill or whatever, the Border Security Act, and you make it sound like it's going to secure the border just by the name. But the name of the bill has nothing to do with what's in the bill. You could make a bill called the Let's Save Kittens Act, and it could literally be filled with, piece of legislation after piece of legislation on how we're going to kill cats. Like, it doesn't matter what you put the name as. Let's Save Babies bill. And then all the bill is about abortion. You could do that, but it doesn't mean that you're actually going to save any babies or save any kittens. People need to wake up.
up cost him. 25 million illegal aliens competing with Americans for scarce homes is one of the most significant drivers of home prices in the country. It's why we have massive increases in home prices that have happened right alongside massive increases in illegal alien populations under Kamala Harris's leadership. Now,
yeah, I mean, we're going to continue to see a massive increase in crime when these people continue to find out that they don't actually get in trouble most of the time. Like they basically have diplomatic immunity, and that's what one of the Venezuelan migrants said after someone confronted him in Aurora, and he said, "The cops told me I have diplomatic immunity," and it's like, what? Are you kidding me? So a man who's part of a gang that's terrorizing an entire town and killing people, it was told that he has diplomatic immunity. That's insane. This is one we opened up with.
I didn't accuse Kamala Harris of inviting drug mules. I said that she enabled the Mexican drug cartels to operate freely in this country, and we know that they use children as drug mules. And it is.
Look at this right here. Look at this right here. Hold on.
Years said that if we shipped our.
Why is that?
Freely in this country, and we know that they use children as drug mules, and it is a.
Watch Tim Walz right here. Watch him
operate freely in this country, and
see that he shook his head. He shook his head.
To operate freely in this country, and we know that they use children as drug mules, and it is a disgrace, and it has to stop.
This is insane. The dude even admits to himself he's being honest with himself. That's why he said it. His body language shows, okay, yeah, you're right. You know, yep. Like he knows that he's telling the truth, and you'll see this half the time. He's either panicked or agreeing with him. Because when he really doesn't want something being said, he panics and his eyes get all wide and he starts kind of looking around too much and looking like he's crazy. And then the other times he's just like, yep, that's true, yep. Like it's crazy that this is happening and no one is is being like, yeah, that's pretty crazy that this guy is agreeing with everything he says. So Tim Walz JD Vance calls out Tim Walz for saying that he doesn't believe there's any First Amendment right to free speech, which is obviously bullcrap. And he's like, I didn't say that. I said for hate speech and for calls to violence. And it's not true. He definitely said it for misinformation.
Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 20?
Look at him. He looks panicked. And see that? We'll go into that in a sec. Dr. Phil's body language expert goes over that. The dude looks panicked.
Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation.
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attack us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's
against the First Amendment. That's well known. But saying misinformation is not the same thing as a call to action. That is a call to action. Saying fire in a crowded theater is considered a call to action. You were calling on people to flood to the exits and get out. That is a call to action. Just like saying kill all Jews or what else, anything like that. That's all of that call to action. It's not allowed to be said according to the First Amendment. But when you say these things, that's like just because, or when someone says the vaccine is dangerous and it can cause this, and this, whatever. Those aren't against free speech. Those aren't a call to action.
That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded theater. You guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't wear masks.
Senator, the governor does have the floor.
Fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Exactly. And here's what he said.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Our manufacturing.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. What was that again?
word, but I think that's something that Governor Walz just said is quite extraordinary. You yourself just said Iran is as close to a nuclear weapon today as they have ever been. And Governor Walz, you blame Donald Trump. Who has been the vice president for the last 3.5 years? And the answer is your running mate, not mine. Donald Trump consistently made the world more secure. Now, we talk about what the sequence of events that led us to where we are right now, and you can't ignore October the 7th, which I appreciate Governor Walz bringing up. But when did Iran and Hamas and their proxies attack Israel? It was during the administration of Kamala Harris. So Governor Walz can criticize Donald Trump's tweets, but effective, smart diplomacy and peace through strength is how you bring stability.
Those stupid, like that stupid deal was retarded. And the reason that Trump got out of it was because he realized that, regulations against the Iranian regime don't matter to them. They're not going to sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to obey this because if I don't, blah, blah, blah. Who's going to tell them who's going to tell us if they're not obeying us? Who's going to tell us if they're in secret still creating a nuclear bomb or trying to get nuclear, trying to acquire nuclear, whatever, ingredients or whatever from other countries. And yet, like, no one else sees how stupid it is to think that they're going to listen to us. Are you kidding me? This is just retarded to think any other way. And Trump saw that, and he saw that funding them is only going to further tear in other places because, yeah, a nuke is a problem. But what's worse is them having our money and then funneling it into terror groups that literally commit horrific acts of chaos and terror all across the Middle East to indigenous peoples like the Kurds, the Yazidis, the Armenians, the Assyrians, the Jews, wherever an indigenous group is in the Middle East, they are constantly attacked by Iran and its proxies.
Back to a very broken world. Donald Trump has already done it once before. Ask yourself at home, when was the last time, I'm 40 years old, when was the last time that an American president didn't have a major conflict break out? The only answer is during the 4 years that Donald Trump was president.
Yeah, it's actually 100% true. And people need to be honest with themselves and say, if they don't want new wars, this is the way they got to vote. Honestly, there's really no other answer. And if we continue to push down, if we continue to push this narrative that Trump is bad for America and he's a threat to democracy, not only will it lead to more threats on his life, but it'll lead to further danger for our country because they are going to notice that we are just not only so divided and so polarized, but we're to the point where we're calling for the violence against our own leaders, which means that shows true vulnerability to a foreign adversary. They see that and they're like, oh, this is fantastic. This is the time to attack, which is why you see Iran trying to jump in on top of all the leftist crap of trying to attack Trump. That's why they have a hit squad in America right now who's trying to commit violence against Trump. And it's all because they see the polarization and division that this administration has caused. And it is despicable for them to sit here and say this isn't political, attacks against an opposition person, which it is. It's all political persecution. That's all it is. Alrighty, guys. That's going to be it for this one. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to go down there, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and don't forget to share this video if you guys like it. Alrighty, and don't forget, don't forget to go down there and check out my Discord and my my merch store at www.streamlabs.com/conservativeconfucius/merch. We'll show you a little bit more a few times, just a little bit more. So we got F. Hamas, we got the Messianic Cross, we got the Fight, we got Make America Sith Again. Sorry, my voice is just a little icky today. Fight with Trump or with Vader. We got F. Biden, you missed, not guilty, twice blessed, twice protected. We got the different Don't Tread on Me flags. And like I said, if you guys want one for your state, let me know. Speaking of which, I'm going to upload the one for one of the people that asked for I think it was, what was it? Xavier, I think it was his name. He asked for one for Georgia. So I'm going to be putting that up on there for you, buddy. If I got your name wrong, sorry too. My bad. Yeah, we got so much stuff, guys. Go check it out. We got some good prices. It's not going to be overpriced like some places. You're not going to be paying $34 for a pair, for a shirt or, anything like that. You're not going to be paying $68 or something for a hoodie. We got good prices. It's reasonable. I'm not trying to make too much profit on any of this. Alrighty, guys. Alrighty, guys, I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.